In this lesson, we'll discuss runways and manned aircraft traffic patterns around airports. I'll explain how runways are numbered, the system that airplanes use to take off and land, and how to figure out where an airplane is in relation to a runway. Yes, remote pilots in command are being asked to learn about this stuff. If you're flying close to an airport, understanding manned aircraft traffic and how the runways are positioned gives you much stronger situational awareness and helps you mitigate risk during your drone flight operation. There is a lot to learn here, and I'm only going to focus on the most important elements and what typically shows up on the FAA Aeronautical Knowledge Test. First, let's talk about runways. At an airport, each runway is labeled with a number between 1 and 36, and that number corresponds to the runway's magnetic or compass alignment. Think about what a compass looks like when you're facing north. You start at 0 degrees at the top, and then moving clockwise, you go around the circle all the way to 360 degrees. That's how a compass works, right? The runway numbers correspond to those same headings, and the name of the runway corresponds directly to which direction the runway is facing. Pretty cool. As an example, runway 9 indicates 90 degrees magnetic. Runway 27 indicates 270 degrees magnetic. To put it another way, runway 9 points east, 90 degrees. Runway 27 points west, 270 degrees. Runway 18 points south, 180 degrees. And runway 36 points, that's right, north, 360 degrees. When a pilot uses runway 9, he or she is landing or taking off to the east or at a heading of 90 degrees. And if a pilot is using runway 27, he or she is landing or taking off to the west or at a heading of 270 degrees. Runways are typically used in both directions, but remember that each direction is named separately. So runway 9 in one direction is runway 27 in the other direction. In this example, east versus west. The two numbers differ by 18, which is 180 degrees. So that's how runways are labeled and positioned. It often helps to sketch these out on a blank piece of paper, which your test proctor can give you during your FAA Aeronautical Knowledge Test. What if I were to ask you in what direction pilots take off on runway 22? Or if a pilot is landing on a northwest heading, what runway number could he or she be using? Those are good examples for you to practice answering. Now that we know how runways work, let's talk more about manned aircraft traffic patterns. Traffic patterns provide a framework for takeoffs, departures, arrivals, and landings. The exact nature of each airport traffic pattern is dependent on the runway in use, wind conditions, which can determine the runway in use, obstructions, and other factors. Information regarding the procedures for a specific airport is provided in the chart supplement. But the first big thing to understand is that the most common traffic pattern at an airport is a left traffic pattern. In a left pattern, all turns are made to the left, unless otherwise specified. In an ideal flight pattern, aircraft are taking off and landing into a headwind, and runways are typically designed to take advantage of normal wind patterns in that geography. For example, when you hear an aircraft announce that they are mid-field left downwind to runway 36, where is the plane in relation to the runway? Runway 36 means that the runway runs south-north and that the airplane will be taking off or landing at a 360 degree heading, or from south to north. If a plane is landing on runway 36 in the direction of the blue arrow, and we know it's using the left-hand traffic pattern, then when it is on the downwind leg, it will be west of the runway, traveling in the opposite direction of the landing runway. Hopefully this illustration gives you a good sense of how a normal left-hand traffic pattern works. A few other points to keep in mind. A manned aircraft pilot should arrive at the proper traffic pattern altitude prior to entering the traffic pattern. That altitude varies from airport to airport and is available in the chart supplement. Entering the traffic pattern at the same time you're descending can create collision hazards and should be avoided. Believe it or not, most mid-air collisions occur within the vicinity of an airport on clear days. The recommended entry position to an airport traffic pattern is to enter at 45 degrees at the midpoint of the downwind leg at traffic pattern altitude. Weather can have a remarkable effect on the size and density of the traffic pattern. For example, a hot or humid day will make for a bigger and more dense pattern. Why? These factors make takeoff and landing distances longer and climbing more of a task. This means it takes longer and more distance to take off, climb to pattern altitude, and land. Remember, it can be really helpful to sketch out runways and traffic patterns when you're going through these practice questions. All right, I'll see you in the next lesson.